G'day guys, and welcome to another episode of the Aussie Investing Machine. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. It's great to have you with me. If you haven't already, make sure to give the live stream a like. It helps push it to more people on YouTube. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Lots to talk about today. Been watching the crypto market more and more, as I think probably everybody has, considering the bull market that we're in, and then also having a look at traditional stocks as well. And just I guess in the Australian environment, there's so many growth stocks which were so popular not so long ago getting beaten down pretty badly. We've seen Afterpay down below $100, and it's been many months since that has been the case, so we'll take a look at that. And then also A2 Milk down to around the $5 mark. It's really sad considering it was almost up at $20. So we'll have a look at those companies. And of course, if you've got a comment or question at any time, please let me know. The two cryptos I wanted to look at was Cardano, which is looking very, very strong, breaking all-time highs. Wanted to explain sort of a little bit of what I can gather about Cardano and what it is and what it means, and then also Chainlink as well, which is an oracle. So I'll try my best to explain that and point you in the right direction for some guys who know a lot more than me on YouTube as well. So what I might do first of all is just share my screen. There we go. Bob, quick question, sell A2 Milk or hold on? I guess it depends what price you got in at. There's people looking at a company like Appen as well and wondering, is it a good entry point? Really hard to say. I mean, the global economy as a whole is looking like it's about to enter a rising interest rate environment. Certainly that's what we're seeing in commodities. Probably something interesting to look at straight up. If we have a look at market index, for example, you look at the commodities page of market index, this is really good to see. Seeing all-time highs on a lot of commodities. Obviously, iron ore is going ballistic, up above $200. We haven't seen this since the GFC. We know China's stockpiling iron ore, and the demand is so strong, but this is really unnatural price movement. And there's people out there. Certainly we saw an address from Warren Buffett at the Berkshire Hathaway annual general meeting indicating that he's seeing inflation across a lot of prices affecting companies in his portfolio. And I've seen a number of videos which are focusing on his home building company and the fact that they're seeing increasing prices in lumber, in steel, and obviously the steel prices are increasing because iron ore is increasing. That's what we're seeing here. But it's not iron ore in isolation. If we have a look at something like copper as well, and we know copper is used in all consumer electronics. It's an excellent conductor of electricity, electric cars, consumer electronics. Again, we're seeing this vertical price movement. And if the raw materials, the inputs that go into products are increasing in value exponentially, we can expect price increases. So why are prices increasing like this? It was explained that essentially due to the printing of money, mass printing of money in both Australia and the US, this influx of money, people aren't spending it as they normally would. They've been in isolation, in lockdowns, and they haven't been able to spend their money on overseas travel and things like that. So people have a lot of money, they're willing to pay more for products, and manufacturers will keep raising prices until the point where people aren't willing to pay. But Warren Buffett talks about his furniture. He owns a furniture manufacturer, and they're telling people, putting prices up, and they're telling people, hey, you won't be able to get this for 3 months. And people are willing to wait. There's such strong demand. We're seeing the same demand in the property market, although that's starting to tail off. The logical next move is the cash rate, the RBA cash rate, and a rise in that. And the effect the cash rate will have, if that goes up, higher interest rates mean it's more expensive to borrow money. And people with large loans as well will really feel the heat if the cash rate goes up, especially if they're on a variable interest rate. They could see their monthly repayments go up, and that's where we start to see a little bit of a turn. But yeah, even something like silver, which is it is a safe haven, but it is also a commodity which is used in devices and electronics. It's not quite there. It's not quite at its August peaks of last year, but it is certainly on the way there. And gold, which has suffered a bit, certainly the dominance of Bitcoin is affecting gold, but it is also on a trend up. So all interesting things to look at. Got my FMG. Yeah, how's a company like Fortescue going? I imagine they're going very well, considering the raw materials are booming. Yeah, if we look at that price movement, you can see over the past year, tracking pretty well. And the 5-year growth is, not exponential, but it's very strong. Gone from $20 to $22, which is not too bad. Having a look at my portfolio, still sitting on a fair bit of cash, and I guess the stocks that are performing so well are traditional brick and mortar type holdings, commodity related businesses, and tech is suffering really badly, especially companies that aren't cash flow positive and aren't turning a profit. They're really hurting. Companies that have high profit margins are really able to resist against inflation much better than companies that aren't turning a profit. So you can kind of see this in my portfolio. Cochlear is definitely a healthcare company which is certainly profitable. Goodman is in the same ballpark, and they're sort of the companies that are in this green zone. So much red. Even Polynovo has dropped more than what I expected. I thought 271 was a great entry point. It's suffering. They do have extremely high profit margins on their products, but they're in an early phase of growth. They're definitely more developed than companies like, I guess, Afterpay, considering their financial statements. Afterpay is pushing so hard for expansion that they're ignoring taking profits. That's all beginning to change. Northern Star is recovering, but again, as that gold price moves up, we could expect Northern Star to do better. Pushpay had some results released, which were really positive. As you can see, we had a 3% gain today. Really, really strong growth in the company, but still down 15% in my portfolio. And PointsBet under a lot of pressure. One of their major competitors in the US, DraftKings, has not really performed as well as expected, so you can see a massive 6% hit today. Some of the companies, we can talk about A2 Milk, for example, really tracking quite poorly, down to $5. Who would have thought back almost at that $20 mark? It's just been a continual slide. There's really no scope for that Daigou channel to reopen. We know the government's target is to let immigration happen again in Australia mid-2022. There's a lot of calls for that to be pulled forward because Australia does rely so heavily on migration, especially the property market. So that's still a year away. It's 12 months away. It'll be interesting to see. There's a bit of a property frenzy at the moment, but as the supply catches up to the demand, it'll be very interesting to see where that sort of goes. It's certainly a nervous time to be buying property, in my opinion. Had some close friends who have just purchased in growth areas, and a lot of those growth areas are traditionally fueled by migration. So hopefully we can get people coming back into the country in 12 months, but it will be interesting to see how the market holds up over the next 12 months in anticipation of that reintroduction of migration. Do I think Kogan's a good buy at this price? Well, you can see I am holding Kogan, and it is performing very poorly. I'm 48% down. It's the nature of the market. I'm not going to sell. I think it will recover at some stage. It's a huge loss. It's not even worth selling at this point. It's only $1,000 investment, so not a huge loss. It's not, Polynovo is a much greater investment for me at $3,000, so that's holding up better. Do I think it's a good entry point at the moment? I'd need to look at the technicals. Perhaps we can do that and just see where the weekly trend is putting Kogan. Let's have a look. So yeah, it's absolutely crashed through its moving average, which is obviously a point of resistance. And you'd be looking at purchasing when we see some positive momentum return to the share price. Obviously, this video is not financial advice, so please do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions. But oversold conditions on the MACD. If we pull up the RSI, we could also have a look at that. And here's the RSI. And that's really approaching sort of all-time lows. But we can see the last time the RSI was at this level, if I just delete the stochastics, make this a bit easier to see. I might even make this full screen. Yeah, so here's the RSI. You can see overbought conditions here in this shaded area. That was sort of when it started to drive up. But really the last time the RSI was at this level, if we pull this line back, we can see it was at this point here, which was at its last low. It then recovered, crossed the moving average, and that would be one of the buy signals for me on Kogan as a re-entry point. We know if it smashes through the 1 week moving average, that's an indicator of positive momentum. And we can also see that on the MACD. When the MACD crosses into oversold conditions, we see this bullish cross on the 2 lines here. When they cross over and the bars start to creep up above the 0 line, that's the second indicator, and then the stochastics gives us a third point of entry. It's obviously not bulletproof, but it's a good gauge. Certainly on the RSI, it looks like we're approaching the bottom. It's never really been lower than this, so it might fan out. But again, I'd be waiting for the price to turn and then for it to cross the moving average. And at that point, that's when I personally buy. Do your own research, as previously stated, but that would be my technical analysis on Kogan. What do I think about Lake? Feel like you're being, yes, fair enough. Didn't even pull my hair. Okay, well, let's look at Lake as well and see where that's sort of sitting. So technically, Lake is still well above its moving average, so certainly looks like there's a lot of room still to fall. See this vertical run up. That's not a positive sign. It's not, consistent growth when we see these big blow off tops. So it's probably a healthy correction until it gets down to the moving average, and then hopefully continues up along. We'd want to see if I can get the doodle out. There it is. So we'd want to see it sort of hit here, the moving average, be there, sort of bounce off that, and then progress in a steady motion like that. That's what you'd want to see. Obviously, if it crosses below the moving average, that's a very bullish sign, and it might be an indicator to get out. Entering oversold conditions on the MACD as well. There's our bearish cross, so really doesn't look like it's going to be turning anytime soon based on the technical analysis. And the RSI is also not at anywhere near its all-time low. So that's my take. It looks like it's in free fall at the moment and probably won't recover until it hits that moving average, and hopefully that's strong enough resistance that it bounces. If not, then yeah, I guess you could expect it to fall more. Again, this is not always super accurate. A news announcement or external market factors can obviously influence this, but from a pure technical analysis point of view, that's my take on it. So, evening Think Help, thanks for joining. Yeah, appreciate that. Let me down with no donation option. Oh, really? That's annoying. because I have turned on monetization for this video. So I don't know, maybe if there's an option to hit a sticker, I think that's the way to do it. I don't know, in the chat, if you can press a sticker, that's a way to donate to the stream. Bob JC, rough market past few days, any stocks you're eyeing that may be oversold? To be honest, I am watching crypto with the most focus. I'm pretty cautious of the stock market at the moment, given those interest rates we were talking about before, and the fact that we're seeing levels rising, price levels rising in so many commodities and raw materials. It's pretty concerning. And looking at Joseph Carlson, who's a great dividend investor on YouTube, encourage you to check out his channel. He's putting his money into companies that are profitable and have really high profit margins. The high profit margins allow them to absorb inflation in their input prices. So he's on the US markets, and he's primarily buying into Apple and Microsoft, these companies with huge profit margins. Again, banks as well will benefit from rising interest rates. We know if the cash rate goes up, banks make more money from the people that they've lent money to. As the cash rate goes up, they can drive up their repayment prices or their interest rates. So that's what I'd be looking at. But banks, again, are super expensive. I bought in a separate portfolio, I bought Commonwealth Bank at $56 in March, and it's now $90. It's running pretty hot. So for me, looking at crypto is probably the best bet at the moment. So we'll look at that shortly. Wilson Pickett, thanks for joining the stream. Should share a crypto address. Shares down, crypto up, it's all good. I give away fiat, not crypto. Yeah, that's the attitude to have. Thanks, mate. Could you pull up AGH Althea Group Holdings? Yep, I'll have a look at them as well. Let's have a look. So interesting. I'll just delete these doodles. Is there a quick way to do this? Maybe not. Bit of a beginner at the Yahoo charts drawings. There we go, clear drawings. So that's the 1 week on AGH. It's got a pretty short time frame, so I guess technicals work better on more established companies. Again, this looks like a pretty, I don't know what their market cap is. Let's have a look. Yeah, 106 mil. Bit of a penny stock. It may not be really worth doing technical analysis on this one, but as you can see, you've just crossed below the moving average, and when that crosses above, again, is a buy signal. So Bob JC, how you doing? Suggest maybe waiting for the next market update. Last Kogan report had some concerns raised with excess stock, increased supply chain costs. Well, I think probably definitely see more of that, as we spoke about. Inputs are going crazy, and especially for someone like Kogan, I know we're in a microchip crisis as well. Demand can't be met for semiconductor microchips. It's just everybody is having trouble, especially car manufacturers. We've seen a huge boost in new car sales, and car manufacturers can't keep up the demand. And one of their major input problems is microchips. So see if I can find a news article on that. Microchips, new cars. Yeah, semiconductor chip shortage. It's a video, we don't want that. But yeah, just recent news. Yeah, there's so many pressures, but there's so much demand. No. Paid article, not what we want. Skyrocketing car prices. So, you know, I've got friends who are really into the four-wheel driving scene, and they're pretty, I guess, clued up on the prices of new cars. And Toyota Land Cruisers, everybody loves them, very reliable four-wheel drives. Toyota's actually been seen to be buying back new vehicles that they've just sold to customers, essentially purchasing them back for a premium and then reselling them for more. If you look at the price for cars and you know car prices, even used cars, it's off the charts. I can't believe the price increases. This massive COVID tax, some people are calling it on everything. There's some items that I own that I've bought off, Facebook Marketplace, some Pioneer audio gear, and I can see I can double my money if I sell that stuff now. It's really going bananas, and it's because of the money printing. So the value of the dollar, it's not that everything's getting more expensive, perhaps. It could be that your dollar's worth less, and that's what's scary, and that's why people are flooding into the crypto markets. So here's an article on Autoblog. You can see talking about that chip shortage, low inventory, skyrocketing used car prices, and no end in sight. Exactly what I've just said. Virtually everything is going up. Big issue, and it's not like companies who are providing these inputs are benefiting. They're benefiting at the start of the line. So the raw materials, lumber, iron ore, these guys are reaping the rewards. If you look at someone like Rio Tinto, you'll just see their price action is crazy. They're at an all-time high, smashing it. But companies that are getting these raw inputs and selling them to consumers, they're not profiting off these huge price increases because the raw inputs are going up. So the only way to counter the massive rise in raw input prices is to raise the price of your products, and that's what we're seeing. So very, very interesting. I work in the mining sector, and I can tell you the orders have been extremely busy from BHP, Nickel West, and Greenbushes. Yeah, great bit of a statement there. Think Help, always delivering the goods. Greenbushes being lithium. What's the volume of trades looking like for Lake and Novanix? Well, let's have a look at Novanix, because we just had a look at Lake or Novonix. There you go. So we're in a bit of a downswing on the MACD. Looks like it might be bottoming out. RSI's middling, reasonably healthy, and we're approaching that moving average on the 1 week moving average. So looks like it's about to encounter some resistance, and we might see a price pump from there. Just wanted to have a look at some crypto quickly. So let's have a look at ADA, which is Cardano. So pull up their chart quickly. So looking at the 1 week chart, seeing a massive price rise here, hitting an all-time high. If we go down to the 4 hours, we can see that we're getting these higher lows and higher highs as well. And if we introduce something like the double EMA, we can see here that it's just tracking above that that level, and Cardano is looking extremely bullish at the moment, and we could see a run coming out of this like we did for Ethereum. If we have a look at Coins Kid on YouTube, definitely recommend checking out this guy. He does some awesome videos, so please go and have a look at his latest video on Cardano. He explains it much better than I ever could. Really gives a great breakdown of where they are at the moment and what the potential, the potential highs for that could be. But that's definitely my favorite channel at the moment for crypto, so please check that out. The end is in sight. It's just not going to be ending. We were thinking, yeah, that's right. Are you staking in Cardano? No, I'm not. Not that deep into it. How about you? Are you? Be interested to hear how you're going with that. The other coin I wanted to talk about is Chainlink. So Chainlink's a little bit different to other cryptocurrencies in the sense that it's actually an Oracle platform, and I thought I'd sort of explain that a little bit for people who aren't familiar with what an Oracle does. So many of you might have heard about smart contracts in cryptocurrencies, and essentially that allows a decentralized contract to be created where parameters are set, where payments are made based on certain occurrences happening. So I might say to my friend, look, I'm going to pay you $100 every time the weather hits 20 degrees Celsius. Now, if you were to try and do that in a traditional sense, I don't even know how you'd go about that. You'd have to ask someone to manage the contract and then make a payment to someone, probably from a bank account. And every time a payment was made, you'd probably get charged a fee for the person who was watching the weather. You'd get charged a fee for the transaction that the bank is facilitating, and it would be quite a expensive process. A smart contract allows somebody with a crypto wallet to enter into a contract where essentially an oracle, known as something like Chainlink, can facilitate it. It sources data from an API, and that's a data source, might be like weather.com or the Bureau of Meteorology or something like that. And every time the weather hits 20 degrees, it knows, and it automatically makes a transaction. And obviously with crypto, the fees are so much lower than traditional banking, and that's how it works. But traditional oracles suffer because they might only pull data from one API. And if I was to hack into the Bureau of Meteorology, for example, and just crank the weather up every day over 20 degrees, I'd be stealing money, essentially, or voiding that contract. So Chainlink prevents this by essentially pulling data from a huge amount of sources and then aggregating that data so that it takes an average. An aggregate figure is an average of multiple data inputs, and then this means if one data source is hacked, it's not going to have a massive effect on the performance of that contract. So that's what they do, and we can see Chainlink partnering with some huge companies. I think Google is one, PayPal might be another. Yeah, Google Cloud, Oracle, in the sense the Oracle technology company, and then all of these other companies. So this is what's skyrocketing the price, and we're also seeing Chainlink look quite bullish on the exchange as well. So for me, focuses obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then my other three focuses would be Link, ADA, and Polkadot. So I should probably also mention that ADA or Cardano is a competitor to Ethereum. So it's got its own advantages, and the guy who started Cardano is actually an ex-founder of Ethereum. So lots to look into there. If you want to see more content on crypto, please let me know. I'd be happy to do more research and potentially some technical analysis. I'd really enjoy that. So yeah, let me know if you'd like to see that. Just have a look. Cool. Think help. Also check out the Modern Investor. Thanks for the tip. Yes, ADA staking is easy and profitable, must do, easy to stop, very flexible. Awesome, I'll have a look at that. Charlie Charles, thoughts on Polynovo? Yep, glad you asked. Let's have a quick look at that. Thanks for joining the stream, by the way. Appreciate the support. So, Polynovo. There you go. So, I bought in at 270. So, let's try and find when that was. I think it was around, might have been sort of at this point here. So it had just broken the 1 week moving average, and boy oh boy, we did get a great run up. Peaked all the way up here at $3.90, and I was absolutely stoked. We saw a sharp drop off, but look, it's met that resistance level and it's bounced, which is a really good sign. Shows strength. It's dropped below, it's since come back up, and that was at the peak of this oversold conditions on the MACD. We've now seen a little bullish cross, but it has been, I guess, shot down again, and we've come back under the moving average. But nothing alarming here. We're not seeing a massive drop down below. Hopefully this can pick back up. It'd be interesting to see what the RSI is saying. It is dropping to low levels, so there's plenty of room for it to bounce back. So It's not the lowest it's ever been, so you might expect a little bit more of a fall. Obviously, when the RSI is really low, people are panicking, people are scared about the particular stock, and that's a good time to potentially top up, which I might do. I've got strong conviction about PolyNovo. I think they're a great company. If you haven't already, go and listen to some of the interviews with their chairman. He really sells what the company's doing quite well. And they've just recently signed some big contracts with US health providers. So I'm not worried. We might see some price action like this where it drops way below the moving average, but I think we'll likely see a longer term recovery. At least that's the hope. So I'm using Urio wallet to then stake ADA. Cool. I'll take a note of that. Ethereum.ADA all share the same heritage. Yep, 100%. Yeah, all co-founders of Ethereum who've since left to try and make something better, whether it's quicker transactions or better staking rates, that sort of thing. Look, guys, I might wrap it up there. Unless there's any more questions, please ask them now. It's been a good little stream. Always enjoy doing these with you guys. Again, after the video is published, please drop a comment and let me know what you'd like to see in the next live stream. Always keen to hear what you guys are interested in. So thanks all for joining me. Appreciate you tuning into the stream, and I'll see you in the next one. All the best. Have a good night and have a great rest of the week. That's all from me. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.